Yes, sorry. Let us see. So Google Cloud Platform, IAM and admin is one of the security aspect where you are going to manage the access to your resources. So who will be having a what kind of access, all those things you are going to take care of it here. So it enables you to manage access and permission for the resources within your Google Cloud environment. So for that one, so if you look at this diagram, it's going to say three things. One is who can do what on which resources. That means who a person or a group of persons or a user account or a group of user account can do what on which resource. So with the IAM, you can manage access control by defining who has what access for which resource. IAM talks about the authorization. So let us try to see how it works. So for example, in this one IAM, the stands for identity, A stands for access, M stands for management, right? So let us see what is this identity, who comes under this identity, and let us try to understand IAM concept very clearly. So identity are a principles, can be a user account, can be a service account, or a group of accounts. So for example, the main simple idea is that I have a project. In my project, I have three developers, or I have like two developers, two testers. I wanted to provide the access to them. As soon as they create their account in the Google Cloud platform, they don't get any access. So if they have created account, they don't get any access. They might be having access to the environment. They might be having access to the Google Cloud platform, but you do not have any access to the any of the resources that they are working on this particular project. For example, you can be a GCS, you can be a data flow, you are working on some other data proc or some other BigQuery. Okay, so you may be having access to the Google Cloud Platform environment. Okay, you may be having access to the Google Cloud environment, but you don't get access to work with the GCS. You don't have access to the data flow. You don't have access to the any of these services. Okay, so what happens is are here. So IAM takes care of that kind of a managing the access and permissions for these resources. Why, sir? Why they are managing it? For example, if you are a tester, there is a one more guy. He is working in some other team, but he is working in our project also. So what happens is that if I provide him access, he may be misusing the services. There will be a lot amount of cost that the organization may have to pay. For that one, we never provide access to anyone unnecessarily until and unless they are really they are correctly working on the particular project. So that is the reason if you wanted to take care of the access, managing the access or permissions for your resources that you are working in a project, you go to IAM. You go to Google Cloud Platform and select the IAM. So what the IAM suggests is that, okay, I understood your problem. You guys have four developers or two developers and two testers. For them, we have to provide a proper access so that they will get access to work on it. And all other people should be restricted. So that is what we have to do. So for that one, how we are going to take care of this one, let us try to see with the IAM. So now let us try to understand how many are there. Total four members are there here. Who in Google Cloud Platform, according to the GCP IAM terminology, these developers and testers are called as identities or principals. Okay, because they have their own Google account. Either if they have a Google account or a service account or a group of Google accounts, either I can create a, these are the four members, right? I can create a one group. That group I'm calling as a Google group because these are four members. But I don't want it to create a group here because what happens, two developers access is different, two testers access is different. If all are the four people are the developers only, then they need the same level of access. Then I will go and create an account, a group. But now I am not going to create an account. I am calling them as a user account. All these have their own user account. I will take their user account. What is mean by a Google user account, sir? All people have their Google account, right? That Google account is nothing but a user account. All people have their own Google account, right? That is called as a all people have their own Google account which they are logged into the Google Cloud platform is nothing but a user account. So that either that account is nothing but an identity. Whenever some application is running in the Google Cloud platform, assume that whenever the data proc is running, data proc creates its own account for managing its resources or operations. It also creates some kind of a account. Okay, whenever the Google Cloud data proc is running, or whenever some virtual machine is running, or whenever some other cloud composer is running, it creates some kind of a account for its operational purpose. That account we are calling as a service account. That service account is also one of the identity. What is a service account, sir? A service is creating its own account for its operational purpose is known as a service account. Or an application creating its own account for its operational purpose is known as a service account. An application or a tool or a service creating its own account for its operational purpose, or a service, either the data proc creating that account or you create for the data proc. Okay, either data proc is creating the account for its operational purpose. No, I don't want the data proc to spend time to create the account. On behalf of the data proc, on behalf of the virtual machine, on behalf of some other services, I create one account and I attach that to the applications. That is also you can call it a service account. So for the main idea is that for the application or a service for their own operational purpose, we are going to create account, or the service itself going to create an account. By default is nothing but a service account. We will see in action what is this service account, how to create a service account, how to attach that service account to the particular services whenever the pipeline is running to automate it. All of those things we will be seeing in our upcoming sessions. So don't worry. For now, just think that an application or a service for its own operational purpose, either the service is creating it or we are creating on behalf of the service, is known as a service account. Okay. And one more thing is Google Groups. So what is this Google Groups, sir? I told you, if you have a 4 user accounts, you can create a one group. Okay. One group you can equal to 4 user accounts, I would say. Okay. Sir, I don't want it to individually provide access to the each user account because all the users are same level of access needed, same level of permissions needed. In such cases, I will create a group, and in, with that group, whatever the access I need to give it to them, I will directly provide it to the group. Okay. So, I mean, it reduces the effort. That's it. Okay, individually copying their user account to some location all the time. Instead, we can just add it to the group, and from now on just take the group, and whenever need the access is required or permission is required. Okay, so that is the either the user account you call as an identity, or the service account you call as an identity or a principal, or the Google group or group of accounts also you call it as an identity or principal. In IAM, in IAM, I means identities or principles. Okay. So identities we must understand, because the next thing is that a will come into the picture. What is a means? A means access. We are going to talk about the access for these identities only. Access are the permissions we are going to provide it to whom, sir? IAM. If we do not have any who concept, we don't provide any access. So the who concept is nothing but a identities. You can go back and see here. This who is nothing but either a user account or a group of accounts or a service account. This who is totally by identity. Okay, so this is what I, sir. After that, now in my project, I means who? Identities means who, sir? Developer, two developers and two testers. Now, so far, the I concept is clear. Now, let us go to the A concept. What is this A? A stands for access, sir. How do we take care of the A? Now, let us try to go there. Sir, so far we have seen I have a project and developer 1, developer 2, tester 1, tester 2. And these people are, I am calling as the identities. Now I need the access to them. I need a access to these four people. How I can take care of it, sir? That is where the roles concept is cleared in the roles concept is added in the Google Cloud. Okay, that's where the roles is equal to access. Okay, in IAM, A means access, right? Access will be done via roles. If you go in working in one project, or if you go and working in one company, they assign you one role. You are a software engineer, you are a mechanical engineer, you are a production engineer, you are a senior software analyst, you are a data engineer. So such a kind of a roles is assigned to you, so that in the system they will be having certain permissions allocated for that particular role. A data engineer is going to be working on data engineering concepts, a tester is going to test it. So such kind of a permissions is allocated already whenever you are working in one company. Likewise, whenever you are working in a Google Cloud platform, the access will be done via roles. The access will be done via roles. What is a role, sir? A role is nothing but a set of permissions. A role is nothing but a set of permissions. Now, sir, what is this one? So instead of going to the roles, let us come back to our project and see. Sir, in my project, we are working on how many services, sir? If you remember, GCS, data proc, data flow, and BigQuery. These are the four services we are working. So two of the developers need a editor access. I would say two of the developers need a editor access. See, editor permission. Why editor access? Sir, they need a permission to edit the things. That means creating a bucket, deleting a bucket, storing some files, okay, managing the access. Such a kind of a permissions they need it. When it comes to the BigQuery, create a data set, delete a data set, create a table, delete a table, create a model, delete a model. Such kind of a permissions they need it, because they are the developers. They are the developers. If they wanted to create one table and load some data, insert some data, they need editor access. Okay, so for all of these things, developers need a editor access. When I say an editor access, I am talking about the permissions here. You see, create permission, delete permission, store permission, manage access permission, create a data set permission, delete a set permissions. What are these? Are a set of permissions. Okay, set of permissions. And what we are doing here? Some kind of an editor access we are calling as. So this kind of editor access you are calling as a role. That's it. That's it, sir. Okay, a role defines a set of permissions. See here clearly. A role defines a set of permissions that determine what action an identity can perform on GCP resources. An identity, this is your identities are developer 2, developer 3, sorry, developer 1, 2, tester 1, 2. So these are your identities can perform on these GCP resources, and what kind of actions they can do. That kind of actions are nothing but creating, deleting, creating, deleting. Okay, so this is I am calling as a set of permissions, and that set of permissions is nothing but a role. BigQuery create role, BigQuery viewer role, because now the testers don't need, it is not only one accessor. For GCP, one role will be there. For GCS, one role will be there. Dataproc, one role will be there. Dataflow, one role will be there. BigQuery, one role will be there. Okay, likewise, the testers also need some kind of access, but they are not a developers. They don't need access to edit the things, because if they try to edit the things, something goes wrong. So we don't need to provide him the editor access. I will provide him the viewer access. Okay, according to their analysis, they just need to check it. They don't need to develop it. They just need to check it whether as per the project requirement, whatever the developers have developed, is it correct or not. That thing they have to check it. So the outcome, the whatever the outcome is as per the requirement or not, that they have to check it. So I don't need to provide them the viewer access. For all of these things, for all of these four services, I will provide them the viewer role. Okay, for all of these things, I will provide them the viewer role. So this is what is nothing but a roles concept, sir. A role is a collection of permissions. Google Cloud offers various roles. We are going to see there can be a three types of roles. One is basic roles, custom roles, predefined roles. We are going to see there. Okay, you are going to understand it. Sir, do I have to provide him all the four services separately? Or do I can I go for one role for all of these four things? Sir, can I create my own custom role so that according to my project I will create my own role? So that is also possible. So all of these things, if you wanted to create a role or assign a role, okay, Google Cloud Platform already provides you set of roles for your purpose, for your own project requirement purpose. No, sir, I wanted to create my custom roles also, you can able to do it. But I just want you guys to understand what is a role. First, a role is a set of permissions or a collection of permissions that determine an identity can perform this kind of actions on that particular resources. Okay, so editor access, GCS editor access is one of the role. Data proc create cluster is one of the role. BigQuery editor is one of the roles. So these set of roles will be there. Those four roles you will be applying on each developer. So for here for here for, here also for. So that is how it works. Okay, so let us try to see. Let me go to the Google Cloud Platform and show you first how it works. Then you will get some idea. Sir, I am going to the Google Cloud Platform. I will to all of you guys, I'm going to tell you how to create a free account tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to tell you free account tomorrow. So far, it is a basic concept only. That's the reason I did not tell you. But from tomorrow, I will tell you. The only thing that you have to do is that you get your debit card or credit card with 2 rupees inside it. So we are going to create a free tier account so that all the practices will be done in this account only. Okay, so let us back to the sessions. Now let us see how this IAM looks like and where is this IAM concept in the Google Cloud Platform and how it works. Let us try to see here. First, I have entered into the console. This is how my console looks like. I have given you the walkthrough already. So this is my hamburger menu and I go here and you see IAM, or I can also go here in the search box and I can search IAM. Okay, you can see here IAM and admin, click on it. Oh, I need to select one project. So this is the first thing that we need to do, sir. As soon as we entered into the Google Cloud console or the shell, whatever it is, whether it is a console or whether it is a shell, the very first important for us to do is that select a project or create your own project or select the existing project. I'm gonna use my project. This is what we have created, I think before GCP morning batch. Click on it. See here, once you have selected a project and once you have selected IAM, you are inside the IAM. You can see here. This is how the interface for the IAM looks like. Once you have also created your account, this is how it looks like. And you see here, this is my mail. So this is my user account, sir. This user account gcplabpractice.5@gmail.com. This is my user account, and you see here by default owner of this account. So this is also one of the role. You see here, this is also one of the role. So whoever is creating the Google account, they are the owners of that account. That means they can perform anything in the Google Cloud platform. Deleting, creating, viewing, listing, anything. Whatever the things you wanted to do, you can do it. Okay, now sir, I have 4 developers. What I will do is that 2 developers need access to the BigQuery and 2 developers need access to the BigQuery viewer. So let us try to see how we are going to process that here. So you come here and click on this grant access. We need to grant the access, right? So once you click on here, you can read it out here. These are the very beautiful words. Granting principals access to this resource, add roles to specify what actions the principals can take, and add principals. Add principals means what, sir? Identities only, don't confuse. Principals are the users, are groups, are service accounts. And you come here, sir, I have 2 developers, I say, right? So developer 1, I add it here, developer 2. Now I am not adding their Gmail IDs. Usually what you guys do is that you come here, you add some kind of a Gmail. Okay, so this is one Gmail, one developer, and this is one more developer. Okay, something like that. You will add Gmail addresses properly. Once you had their user accounts, okay, you can think of like a developer 1 and developer 2, and after that you come here, you see. So this is adding principals. You see here, assign roles. Okay, this is nothing but a I, this is nothing but a I means identities, A means access. Access will be done via adding roles, assigning roles. And the roles are composed set of permissions and determine what principals can do with this resource. And you click on here, so you can see here different varieties of the roles. Sir, I see basic roles, browser, editor, owner, viewer. Sir, I see a roles with respect to the service. Okay, so for example, I go to BigQuery. BigQuery has its own set of roles. And I go to Cloud Builder, it has its own set of roles. So, sir, I have a basic roles, which are, what are these basic roles? And I have a roles which are categorized by service. So let us try to understand what is actually these type of things. So let us try to understand what are the types of roles, then we will come back here. So types of roles. So we have 3 types of roles. One is basic roles. So very simple. Basic roles is nothing but it talks about all the services. These are called as generic roles. These are not specific to any service. These are generic roles. Okay, basic roles are talking about all the services in the GCP. What does that mean, sir? If I provide one user as a viewer role, for developer is there, if I provide him a viewer role, this developer can view whatever that is there in the GCP. GCP services, he can able to view all the things in the GCP services. He can go to Google Cloud Storage, he can go to the Dataproc, he can go to the BigQuery. That means all the services in the GCP, most of the services in the GCP, he can be a viewer. And one more is editor. If I make him an editor, what he can do is, right, he can create a service, he can delete a service also. That means in Google Cloud Storage, he can create one bucket and delete one bucket. So he can be an editor to most of the Google Cloud services. Okay. So it talks about basic roles, talks about all the services in the GCP. By default, whenever you create your own account, you are the owner of it. Owner means whoever is creating their account, right? They are the owners. They can be having a full access to all the resources like a project, including ability to manage them, access control also. Okay, so this is what is the basic rules. Basic rules, in another words, they talk about all the services. That means they authorize, authorization can be taken care according to all the services. So it is not properly used and we never use the basic roles, but something like admin or the owner of the, for example, there is a CEO, I will make him the owner of this Google Cloud projects. So something like that. But most of the time, as a developer, as a tester, as a data engineer, we never give a such kind of a basic roles to anyone. But these are the basic roles are the ones when the Google Cloud Platform was actually introduced, only basic roles were present. And what was the problem? Let us try to see. Then why we need to have a predefined roles? Then you will be able to understand it. Now, when I provide him a developer, sir, we already know that we have a developer one, developer two. They are only working on 4 services. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I make him the editor access, because they need to edit something in these 4, if I provide him the editor access, basic editor access, he can able to, not only he will be editing here, he will be having editor access to all the GCP services, all the GCP services. So it's fine. He will be having, if he is editing here and there, it is fine in these 4 services. But he will be having edited access to here also. He may be misusing the other services like Composer. If we create an environment, Composer is very costly whenever he works in that one. But for his own practice or for his own things also, the client money we are going to waste it. So that kind of a things it should not happen. So that's the reason, according to the principle of least privilege, we should only provide the necessary access to the developers. We shouldn't provide the least, we shouldn't provide the more. So we shouldn't provide the more access to the developers. So that is the reason. So these basic roles are not meant for the developers who are working in the project. Okay, we never use basic rules because there can be a misuse of the resources, there can be a misuse of the data, there can be a misuse of the access will happen. So that is the reason basic roles will not be used in the project. It was there from the very beginning onwards in the Google Cloud Platform. So that's the reason we must learn about it, and we now know the importance of the basic roles and why we don't use it. So this is nothing but a basic roles are talking about all the services in the GCP. So that means the access will be provided to most of the Google Cloud services. If you come here and if you can click on this basic and you see here editor, you see view, create, update, delete most of the Google Cloud resources. And it is saying that, sir, this is the role. But where is the list of permissions? Sir, this is the role. Where is the list of permissions? So see the list of included permissions. So if you wanted to see the list of included permissions, you can go to actually on the left bar, you will be able to see roles, because role is a set of permission. You are seeing here only role, owner, editor, these are roles. And here we are going to see the set of permissions. When you click on roles, so you can see here something like anything. I'm going to take admin for example. So this is admin is a one of the role. You see here we have a permissions. So 4 set of. Likewise, you go back and see something which we know. Something like editor. Any editor we will take. AutoML no. Something like BigQuery we will take. BigQuery data editor. You see here BigQuery data editor is a one of the roles. You see here 37 permissions. So each role will have a set of permissions. Sir, I wanted to see the list. Come here and see it. Come here and see it. Okay. So now, so the problem was we already know that. So if I have a developer 1 and developer 2, I shouldn't provide the basic editor role. I should not provide it. So what is the problem? If I provide it, they are supposed to be working on 1 2 3 4 services, but they are also they are also getting access of 5 6 7 also, which should not happen in the company. For that reason, what do we need to do? So in such cases, we need to go to the next one, that is predefined roles. But how the predefined roles work, sir? Sir, predefined roles, nothing but they are not the they are not talking about the all the services. They are these roles are created to specific service. Okay. For example, for GCS, you will be having a set of roles. GCS, you will be having a set of roles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set of roles. Each role is nothing but again a set of permissions. Okay. So this is how it works. So basic roles are talking about all the services. You create one editor, that means he will be the editor to all the services in the GCP. But it shouldn't happen. So for that one, what we are going to do is that we are going to the predefined roles. GCP provides you wide range of predefined roles that offer granular permissions for managing the specific GCP services. Sir, my specific GCP services are only for GCS, BQ, Dataproc, Dataflow. I wanted to work with this one. I have 4 developers. I need to provide him the access. So for this, my specific services, Google Cloud Platform provides you 200 plus services. Out of 200 plus services, I am only working with 4 specific GCP services. In such a criteria, we will be going to provide him the predefined role to for these people. For example, sir, how do I provide it? I need a editor access. So for that one, I will go here and I will go to IAM first tab and click on the grant access and click on here. I will add some mail ID. Let us not worry about mail ID. Let us just say developer 1, developer 2. Okay. So think that this is a proper accounts we have added. After that, you click on here. You don't go to the basic, but you go to the by product or service. By product or service, you will go. That means for the GCS, where is the GCS, sir? Google Cloud Stars, GCS, right? So sorry. Google Cloud Storage, I think they call it as Cloud Storage. Yeah, somewhere here. So you go to the storage and you have here storage admin, storage collector, storage object admin, storage object creator. Many things are there. So I'm going to say, so he should be the creator because allow users to create objects. Okay. So still, I do not know what are the permissions included in this one. Select this thing particularly. And you go and select the list of permissions in this particular thing. So storage object creator will have a set of permissions. So that means the name itself, it is giving you some idea. Storage object creator means in the Google Cloud Storage, he is going to be the creator. That means either he can create a bucket or he can either he can create an object, nothing but a file, or he can delete a file, he can manage the file. So such kind of access will be provided. So still I wanted to see the list of permissions for that one. So you go here and you select that particular thing, storage object creator. I copied and pasted here. Select that. See, this is one. It is particular to the Google Cloud Storage only. We are not talking about any other service, only specific to the Google Cloud Storage. Click on it here. And you have a 7 permissions here in this one. Whenever you apply this to one developer, they get these 5 permissions. That means resource project, they can able to get it, list it out, abort it, create it, list the parts, create the objects. Okay, so these are all permissions will be assigned to the developer from now on. Now that means I have done one thing. One is I have specifically go to my GCS. Instead of applying a editor on all of those things, I can go to BigQuery and so mention data editor. And likewise, I can also mention one more is GCS, because we need a Google Cloud Storage also. Google Cloud Data Object Creator. So we need four things, right? We are working on four. So one more service is Dataproc, editor, Dataflow, Dataflow, Dataflow developer. Okay. So I have two developers. I have assigned them two of these four roles. I have assigned them. So now one, so their access will be restricted to these four services only. How beautiful it is. Earlier they are getting the access to all the services, most of the services in the GCP, and they can able to do anything. But now we came to a situation, or we came to a better version of the solution, that we have restricted their access to use only these four services. And whenever we do that, what happens is that if they are trying to access one more services other than this one, they say clearly that the action is denied, the permission is denied, you cannot perform any actions on this service. So that kind of a restrictions we can able to put it with help of the IAM. Now their access is restricted to only four of these services. You click on it. As soon as you are clicking on it, now I haven't done it properly, so what I will do, okay, so this actually opens up one more concept. That's the reason I am trying to save it. So this opens up, as soon you grant the access to the developers or the principals by assigning the role, whenever you do that, you click on save, that means you are creating a policy. You are creating a policy. What is a policy, sir? Binding the roles to the principals is nothing but a policy. Binding the permissions, binding the roles to a set of people or a set of group of accounts or a principles is nothing but a policy. Now you see here policy updated. Why it is saying policy updated? I already have one policy already. So if this was a first one, this says that policy is created. Okay, so for this project you have a IAM, and inside that IAM you have a policy. A policy is nothing but a binding the principle with a role is nothing but a policy. Okay, so what is a policy? A policy says it's a statement of words, or it's a statement saying that who can do what on which resources, who can do what on which resources. This editor is what it is saying. This resource is BigQuery. So that is what the policy says. That is what the IAM implies. So IAM implies who can do what on which resources. So that is how. So that opened up one more concept, that is a policy. You can grant roles to users by creating a policy. You grant roles to users by creating a policy, which is a collection of statements that define who has what type of access. Policy or allow policy, both are same, sir. Don't confuse. Some people call it as a policy. Some people call it as a allow policy. Allow policy is attached to the resource. It's a beautiful thing. Try to see here, guys. If an allow policy is attached to a resource and used to enforce the access control whenever the access is accessed, whenever the resource is accessed. Enforcing the access control, what does that mean, sir? Sir, I have a user. I bounded the user with using only the BigQuery editor access. This is one of the role I have assigned him. So now this is nothing but a binding. A set of bindings is nothing but a role. Okay, because you don't have only the one, right? You will be having the same user with one more role. Okay, one more BigQuery viewer role. So this is one more binding. Binding one, binding two. Binding means nothing but a user is connected with one. A role is nothing but a binding set. So that set of bindings I am calling as a role. Sorry, policy. Sorry. Set of bindings is nothing but a policy, sir. So this policy is actually attached to the resources. So this policy is attached to the BigQuery. Here it is BigQuery. This policy, if the data proc is also the data proc. Now, what happens is, sir, if an unknown user came into the picture and he is trying to access it, he is trying to access the BQ. The BQ is already attached to the policy. Now, this user name or this user account, whoever is accessing it, is there in the policy or not, the BQ will check. The BigQuery will check in the policy whether this guy is a authenticated user or not, it will check. Authorized user or not, it will check. If that authorized user is there, then it will provide the access. If this is particular, this username is it is there in one of the bindings, it will provide the access. If it is not there, it will bind, it will restrict the access. So that's what is nothing but enforcing the access control. Enforcing the access control means whenever you are trying to access one resource, that resource is connected to the policy, and if that resource that user have access to that particular BigQuery, that particular resource, and then you are going to get the access. Otherwise the access will be enforced or restricted. So that is what is nothing but a policy. Okay, policy is nothing but a you grant the role to a user. That is what is I'm calling the process of granting a role to the user. I'm calling as a policy. Okay, the process of you whatever you do the process right for assigning a role to one user. That process I'm calling as a policy. And for each project you have a set of policies. Each project, sorry, the project. This project will be connected to the policy, and that policy will be also attached to your project. So, sir, I am working in the Google Cloud. I have a 4 projects. For individual project, the policy is different. Yes. Even though if I go here, sir, I have a 4 projects here, and for each project, the policy is different. Okay, it doesn't mean that, sir, I have here 2 policies, sorry, 2 bindings. For it's only one policy, sir, it's only one policy only. Always the policy will be updated, but 2 bindings we call it as. This is one principle is attached to one role, one principle is one attached to the one more roles. This is nothing but a bindings. This is one binding, this is one more binding. This set of bindings I'm calling as a policy. And if I go to one more thing here, see, I have here 3. It doesn't mean that the policies are to the Google account. The policies are restricted. The policies are different to the different projects. According to your own project requirement, you will be setting up the policies. So that's how it works. Okay. Yeah. So now, sir, go back to this is a policy, but now let us go back to here and try to see, sir. I understood the concept of basic roles, but which is very dangerous. I don't want it to go. Sir, predefined roles, which is are very good for me. So actually, it is doing a lot of benefit. I actually supposed to use the predefined roles in the project. But sir, I have a one developer who is working on most of the things, and those kind of roles are not listed out in the basic role. Those set of roles are not required in the predefined role. So I have a one developer which who needs a separate requirement of access, a separate access is needed, and which is not listed in the basic roles or which is not listed in the predefined roles. In such cases, sir, can I create my own role? Can I go against the GCP and create my own role? Yes, GCP provides you that kind of ability to do that. So you can create your own custom role, which is exactly similar to your predefined role. How the predefined roles, the main purpose of the predefined roles is to provide you the granular access to the specific services. So granular access we are going to do it. So in the custom roles also, it is also according to your custom requirement, according to your project requirement, if I wanted to create my own custom role, yes, you can able to create it. Okay, let me go and see how I can create it, sir. So this is a rules. This is where the place we are going to update the policy. This is not, we are not creating any role here. You go to roles. You go to roles. See here at the top, you can create a role. Click on create a role. When you click on create a role, this is how the page looks like. You provide a proper trendy title saying that project developer 2. I have a developer 2 who needs a special a separate role. For that one, I am creating a role. You see here, when I say a role, it is a set of permissions. We need to add the set of permissions. So I click on set of permissions, and you have listed out almost all 8,468 permissions are here. So you select it. Sir, this guy is going to work on this Vertex AI. This guy is going to work on Anthos. This guy is going to work on App Engine. This guy to go and work on AutoML. This guy is going to work on Batch Dab Editor, BigQuery. This guy is work on billing. So all of these things, I need all of these things, sir. What happened here? Why it is not coming? Add. Okay, select all. Sorry. Permissions. Okay, I selected 10 permission, 10 assigned permissions. You see here, and click on create. Okay, once you click on create, that means you have created your own role, that is project developer 2. Okay, you come up with your own project requirement, you created your own role. You see here, this is your role, this is your custom. This is a, you can see here, it is a custom. Sir, I wanted to assign this custom role to my developers. So I go to IAM section and I click on grant access, and I'll enter my principal and I'll come here. You see here, earlier we do not have a custom, but as soon as I created a custom, you see here custom page came into here, and click on this one. Now that guy we are getting a, we have assigned a role, that is custom. Okay, so this is how basic roles, predefined roles, custom roles work. The main idea of the role is that role is a set of permissions that allow, that says is like who has what type of access to that particular service or not. Okay, so a role, whenever we assign a role to the user, we are creating a binding. So when you create a binding, that means a set of bindings I'm calling as a policy. And whenever you grant a role to the user, the policy will be keep on updated. Okay, so policy will be attached to the resources. So whenever the resource is accessed, the policy will be enforcing the access to that particular thing. Okay, so that is how it works. So I'm going to stop it here for today. And if you guys have any questions, you can ask. So the only simple thing left tomorrow is that resource hierarchy. It takes 10 minutes. And after that, I will tell you how to create a free tier account. Okay. Yep. Now, yeah. So I might have missed 2 slides here, right? So let me try to tell you. Very simple. I told you a role will be assigned to the group of identities or principals. A role contains a set of permissions. A permission says what type of action allowed on that which services. Okay, so it's a diagram which shows what type of access is allowed. That is nothing but a permission. A set of permissions I'm calling as a role. A role will be assigned to the user. And now, sir, there will be some people who will be telling, sir, can I assign a permission to the user? A permission to, okay, somewhere here it will be. A role is a collection of permissions. You can't grant a permission to the user directly. Sir, my agenda is that, sir, I have only one permission. I want that permission to be assigned to the user. Can I do it? No. Even though you have only one permission and you create that permission as a role, and then only you assign it to the user. Okay, if you have 10 permissions also, you create a role and you assign it to the user. Okay, a role is a collection of set permissions, and if you have a one permission, you can't assign directly to the user. So this is not possible. Okay, this is not possible. You grant a permission, you can't grant a permission to the users directly. Instead, you grant them a role. Whenever you grant a role to the user, you grant them all the permissions that the role contains. Okay, you see here, first you have a set of permissions. These are all set of permissions. You create that as a role and you assign this role to the user. Okay, any questions, guys? This is it for today. Yeah, if anyone have any questions, raise your hand. I'll go one by one. Okay, yes, Ram.
Yes, sir. So, for example, developer one part of like two projects, project one and two, and wants to assign a common role between two projects. So, that's not possible for global level. Like,
No, no, you
okay,
can't create a global level permissions. You
mhm,
can create a, you can copy the permission from one to the another and you do it. But it's not that two projects I create a role and sir, I wanted to assign a global role. No, that's not possible because a policy will be binded or a policy will be attached to the resource as well as project. Okay, but individual projects cannot have a role which is common. Okay, but you can copy it, sir. I want the same role here and there. You copy the same role here and they paste it there, so you can do that.
copy from the other project.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Anyone have any other questions, guys? Raise your hand if you have any, and otherwise I'm assuming that you got all the things clear. So after this, we have completed IAM. After, I mean, once we, maybe tomorrow, we will be completing IAM and account creation. We are going to see our first service, Google Cloud Storage. Okay, our first service, Google Cloud Storage. So we will be doing like this. If I have a space here, yes. Okay, I haven't have a space anywhere. Okay, so first Google Cloud Storage because we need to learn about the data lake. So one is Google Cloud Storage. After that, the databases, that is Cloud SQL. After that, the data warehouse, that is BigQuery. So that is how one by one. After that, data processing, that is data proc, data flow, data fusion, data proc, data flow, Cloud Composer, and Cloud Functions, and many things are there. Cloud Functions and uh, Airflow. Okay, those kind of things we are going to learn. After that, few basic like spanner, all of those things, basic concepts. One day, one day, one day. So this is how our trend will be. Okay, one by one we are going to teach one by one. So from to maybe from day after tomorrow onwards, actual data engineering concepts will start. So far it is basic related to the Google Cloud Platform. Without understanding the basic concepts related to the Google Cloud Platform, we can't, because these concepts, whatever I am saying, right, it will come in each and every aspect. So that's the reason I covered here itself. Okay, yeah. Yes, Shekhar. Hello, Shekhar. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm not sure whether I'm able to hear or I think I can't hear you. Your voice is
It's very
not.
low.
Yeah, it's now
Uh,
good.
it's good now. Okay.
Yes.
So in the syllabus we cover Python as well. Python,
Yeah.
PySpark.
PySpark. Yes, of course. PySpark.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
DAX creation. All of those things covered. Don't worry. Yes. We are going to
Okay.
spend 5 days, 5 days, 5 days on each, so that you will be having a good data engineering skills. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So and the other question on IAM that on roles. So there is an option for like role launch stage. Like it says alpha, something like that. What is role launch stage?
No, role
Alpha,
launch
beta.
page is something similar to the granting access page only. Okay, but it is not specific. Even though you go into the role launch page and whatever the activity that you are doing here, it is same thing there also. Wherever you go in the Azure or AWS or GCP or some other IBM clouds, the main aspect of the IAM is that it is there in all the clouds, sir. It is not whatever the concepts I told you today or maybe in the previous classes. All these concepts are similar in all the cloud platforms. You go to locations concept in AWS and Azure. This is what is something. You go to GCP, Azure or AWS, again the locations, IAM admin concepts, interfaces, everything is same, sir. So you don't need to specifically learn again. Sir, I wanted to work in the Azure, but I got a project because of GCP. So it's not that. So again, the basic concepts are same. Okay, so in the in Azure, if you go to launch page, if you wanted to assign a role, if you wanted to create a policy, you bind it again. You bind it means you grant a role to a particular user. Again, the same thing activities come into the picture. There isn't any difference. Only the interface wise it could be little tricky. But if you understand the interface, how the display works, and all these things are same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're
Okay,
good
thank
for
you.
the day, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you all. Have a great day. We will meet tomorrow at the same time. Bye bye, guys. Have a great day.